Welcome to Money on Tap. Money on Tap, your personal finance headquarters, where we bring out the professionals' experience and some fun in what we call three-dimensional investing, utilizing insurance, brokerage, and fee-based planning. That's what we do on this show. We look at all sides of the issues, and we bring a fully independent planning perspective to the table.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. My name's Seth Cressman, here with Ben and Dan. How are you guys doing today?
I'm amped up, Seth. I'm amped up. I'm ready for the show. This is going to be a good show. I mean, this is going to be probably one of the more valuable shows, I think, at part two to what we're bringing this week. I'm excited. I'm excited. How you doing, Dan?
I'm doing well, and I'm right there with you. I mean, taxes is such an important part of what we do and kind of the everyday language we speak, that anytime we get to spread a little knowledge and kind of, bring people information that it really hits them right in the wallet. I think these are important shows, and these are the kind of shows that apply to everybody. Sometimes we'll get into something that's, a little bit specific and doesn't necessarily apply to every investor out there. But whether you're in the market or not, taxes is part of our lives, and this show is going to benefit everybody.
The thing I hate the most, guys, and this is like the pet peeve of pet peeves when it comes to paying taxes, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have heard this. When you're making money, you just got to pay taxes. That's just the way it is. I mean, the second I hear that from somebody, I just shut down. I'm like, there's always something you can do. The tax code is not black and white. There's a lot of stuff out there that can be done. If you're a small business owner, I'm sure you've heard that. And I would tell you that if you have, we should be the next phone call you make.
And why is that, Ben?
Because there is just so many tax things that are written for small business owners in so many different ways. I can't tell you. You could go to 3 different tax professionals, have them file your taxes, and I guarantee you not one of them would be the same. It's just you own a business, there's 1,000 ways to slice this pie. And the truth is that if someone's just telling you that's the way it is, it means they've shut down. They're not being ambitious and creative and researching deep enough to say, let me check this out. Let me see. Let me test this. I mean, they want to just check the boxes and move on. Hey, you're making money, man. That's what happens. You pay taxes. That means you didn't do your job further. Like, hey, a real good answer would be, hey, listen, I know this is a big number. I looked at these 3 other options of filing in this direction or doing this, and this doesn't help enough. And honestly, this might produce a red flag. This is where we're at, and I think this tax number is good. That answer means they did some work. You just pay money when you make money. That means they're not really that means they're not rolling up their sleeves. That's how I read that.
Well, all right. And, one of the things I had kind of hoped to tuck inside of that is if you don't have somebody that's really taking care of those parts and those pieces that Ben was describing, really trying to look at your scenario and try to find some alternatives for you of how you can start saving some money inside the tax code. Well, guess what? We do at Brayshaw Financial Group. And if you send us an email, just put taxes on the subject line at info@yourmoneyontap.com. We'll connect you with our Brayshaw Financial Group tax team that is here for you to really help you work through not only just getting your taxes done on time, correctly, all of those parts are really important as well, but taking a look at, okay, what could you do this year, but maybe more importantly, as we're looking to the future, what kind of planning can we start to do with and around your taxes? So it's one of the things that we're just loving about what we can do to help support you, our listeners. We're listening to our listeners that are talking to us and letting us know. And this is what we want. This is what we need. We're having a hard time, and it is. There are so many CPAs right now that are closing up shop. They're retiring, and there's a lack of younger CPAs and tax professionals coming in behind them. It's a challenge right now in the tax industry to find enough people to really fill those places. So we're really excited to be able to do that and support you in that part of the vision here at Brayshaw Financial Group and Money on Tap. So with that, what are we doing today? Well, we're doing a part 2 of our tax show. It's Learn More so that you can pay less. And with that, we've got some really fun stuff that I think it's fun because we're going to get into some changes in deductions and, some things that have really changed in the landscape of mostly how a lot of people do business today, the why of that and what that holds for you as an opportunity to take advantage of some of the tax code that's there for you. And as well, you know what? We're not going to do a show without doing a little bit of what first? Yep, money in the news.
Today, coming to us from paymentdives.com from Caitlin Mullen. Discover CEO Roger Hochschild resigns. The card issuer facing FDIC probe appointed board member John B. Owen as interim CEO and president. And this was, big news in the financial industry. A CEO who had been with the company since 2004, CEO since 2018. And this is Discover Financial, the credit card company everyone's probably familiar with. They've had a little bit of turmoil at the top. And the CEO was, asked to resign and is essentially forced out over some kind of ongoing compliance concerns. And, one of the things that you kind of grab from the article when you see news like this, it's a little shocking, but, he will be, kind of forced out without any kind of severance or any of his incentive and stock reward program, which in the CEO world, that's rare. And that means there's something going on.
There's something going on, all right. For all our listeners, I asked Dan to find this Discover article because I'm pretty fed up with Discover in general. But banking and finance has been a big part of the investment world over the last, I would say, 6 months to a year. Because, financials had a crash, SVB went under. There's a lot of different things that have happened in the financial world. But, this whole Hochschild event where he basically, was overcharging, either his consumers from the school side, the student loan piece, or the actual companies that they were, the different vendors they had. There was just some serious underhanded issues that were going on. And this guy was just forced out pretty quick. And they put a new guy in place who's going to be out here in March for only about 6 months. But, I tell you, I've been a Discover Card customer for almost 20 years. And I just recently canceled my Discover Card. I was just so disgusted with the company in general. And I actually was so offended by this company. We purchased some tickets somewhere, and we couldn't get into the event and so forth. Discover wouldn't back us. It was like $37. We did everything they asked us to. We provided everything. Company did nothing. We run our entire business, guys, right, through this card, and they did nothing for this event. And over $37, I canceled this. They told me basically there's nothing they can do. They can't do anything. They only represent you have to be a neutral party. So this is my offer today. I don't like financial institutions that just don't take care of their customers. So I canceled that 20-year relationship over 3 months worth of working on something that was out of principle. And I believe in principles. And if you believe in principles too, don't work with companies that, don't stand for you. And so for anybody who wants to send us to info@yourmoneyontap.com, proof of cancellation of the Discover Card, the first person who sends it, I'll give you a Yeti mug that costs more than the $37.20 mailed to your house in honor of your cancellation. I just think that we need to hold these companies accountable for their actions, their poor service, and Discover literally has a track record of doing this stuff. So this is my little rant. This is my little, buyer beware. I might even short the company because there's just no way a company can treat people like this. I've never even had a claim with them in my entire almost 20-year history that I know of. So it's just the arrogance of this company is just so horrible. I just told them they should fire everybody that had anything to do with this. You just don't get rid of good customers who pay on time. So that's my rant. Free Yeti for anybody who sends evidence of a cancellation of their Discover Card. Happy to do that. And God bless you, Discover. I hope you make it.
You remind me of when I fired Wells Fargo. And that was a good day. I just started, for one, I had wanted to fire them for a while, but every time I wanted to fire them was because they were doing something and I was upset about it. And I just made a decision. I'm just, you know what? I'm not gonna make a decision in an emotional moment like that. And then one day I was having a really great day, and it popped into my head. It was like, hey, why don't you go ahead and fire Wells Fargo? I was like, yeah, let's do that. So I fired Wells Fargo, and they're still. And just the other week, they were like, did you ever get signed up for some service that you didn't want? And I was like, yeah. Called the number, and they're sending me like a $5 check or something like that.
Well, there's a reason why Discover's done so poorly. I mean, there's a reason. You can't treat all your vendors, all your customers this way. Even the lady I was canceling the card with, she's like, I can't believe they wouldn't do something for you. I'm like, I spent months and months dealing with this thing. I called them before we left the event because we couldn't get in. It's not like we didn't show. Ticketmaster sold us something you can't get into. It was totally crazy. I'm done with Ticketmaster too. All these people are just constantly taking advantage of you left and right. And I think as an organization, we the people need to let each other know what the problems are so that when you have it, you realize, hey, listen, I'm not the only one. I'm not alone in this. And I'm going to stand with that. So, boycotts work, folks. They do. So if you want to boycott with me, send me evidence. First person gets a free Yeti mug. I'll be happy to acknowledge that, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I don't think Discover has long to go. I'll probably short the stock. But no, that's not advice. Don't take it.
So I'm talking about Wells Fargo, and almost in the same breath, I'm about to mention Warren Buffett, who's a big investor and done real part of his portfolio that he's done so well in is the Wells Fargo purchase, and that was going back into I think 2009 when he bought it dirt cheap after the banking industry went through that turmoil. But he he really thinks highly of their ability to perform and stay on top of the metrics that are important for banking to be successful. And I cannot argue that. I just have, the culture of that institution was one that I just disagreed with vehemently. And I haven't owned it since then. But anyways, that's bringing us up to Warren Buffett and Cathie Wood. And this is an article from Adam Spatko from the Motley Fool. So Warren Buffett and Cathie Wood own this artificial intelligence stock, and it looks dirt cheap right now. So if you don't know who Cathie Wood is, she has several ETFs out there that are been very, very successful in the tech and AI world. And you can go ahead and research her if you want to take a look at some of those tickers and see what we're talking about. Warren Buffett, on the other hand, if you don't know who Warren is, oh my gosh, where you been? This is the Berkshire Hathaway starter, creator, and owner of that portfolio, and he's just world renowned for his invest in great companies at a good buy philosophy that has done so well for him. But one of the things that's interesting in both of their portfolios, which don't typically cross paths, is that they are both owners of Amazon. The article really does go into kind of more of a deep dive of why Amazon is considered cheap and some of the metrics that they're looking at, and also does do a good job of highlighting that they don't own very much Amazon. Neither one of them do, but in that, it's an interesting conversation where sometimes you just have this convergence of some great investors out there that happen to think on some similar lines.
Yeah, this article caught my attention because, from the investor's perspective, kind of behind the scenes, the presumption is you couldn't be more polar opposite between Cathie Wood and Warren Buffett. And Cathie Wood is made her career in the technology space, like you spoke to, Seth, and trying to identify kind of really infantile, soon-to-be growth companies and, really catch that rocket in a bottle kind of an investor, whereas Buffett is much more driven by value and really deep dives into a balance sheet and understanding, that this company is either already profitable and undervalued or on the verge of it, where Cathie is much more likely to jump in way ahead of that point in time. So to see any crossover in their investment portfolio was interesting. So that was kind of the primary factor in grabbing this one. But something else that kind of caught my mind too, and Ben, you talked to this a lot. It's like, what is technology anymore? It's like everything's technology, everything's AI. So when we think of Amazon, I mean, most of us think of, online shopping, right? Direct to the consumer, retail mega giant. But the fact of the matter is they are a major player in the AI space as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that, Amazon's like their retail, the whole Amazon buying and packages, like that's not even like their huge profit margin zone. It's actually all AWS and all their server stuff. I mean, that's actually the driving piece of their business, which is incredible to me because I think of Amazon packages arriving at my house almost daily. And so it's kind of like, wow, that's pretty incredible that's like that. And I also think that Amazon has been a player in so many different spaces. I'm also concerned about the largeness of this company. I mean, it's almost interwoven through everything. I remember like, what was it? What was that? Was it Parlay or something? One of those social media things where Amazon just shut them down and put the company out of business. And I just thought that was, abuse of power. There's a lot of these companies that just get so big and we just become so dependent on them that we almost give away our freedom. So I have a client of mine who uses AWS, and they've actually done all sorts of backup stuff just to make sure that, God forbid something happens to, AWS and they shut them down because they're, conservative Christian company. So that was kind of an interesting conversation. But anyways, yeah, I think Amazon, it's a big AI player, especially with all of the shipping that they do. And I watched this whole show on Amazon, guys. It was just incredible. I mean, I don't know where they talked about where if you bought something, it knew that it needed to move packages from one place to another because the likelihood of you buying one of the next 5 things is right around the corner. And to make the delivery faster and cheaper for them, they would just throw it on one of their trucks that had space to get it to a warehouse closer to you. It was really incredible.
It is incredible. So. Yeah, how they do that, they predict what you're going to buy ahead of time. It's scary and amazing, but
I need to get that list and then have them block all of those options on Amazon for my wife.
Well, as much as I do not align with Bezos on there's lots of stuff that I would just disagree across the board with him. I am so amazed at how he has created Amazon and his commitment to the customer and that customer experience just being one of the most predominant driving forces of what he's all about. And
maybe Discover should take a lesson from them.
Absolutely. There's a lot of people. I mean, he's across the board. He's one of these guys that just goes out and seeks out knowledge. He's a very wise person and humble in that way. Like James Senegal, the creator of Costco, Walmart, you name it. He is out there and looking into industries and just constantly in this mode of how can I improve? How can I improve? And it's like who doesn't admire that when we see that. In our lifetime, we've got some incredible. We're about to talk about one more of these people here. We better do it quick because we're running out of time on this. But maybe we'll circle around to some more Bezos later. But let's get on with Mr. Musk, Elon Musk. This is some CNN business here with Chris Isidore that highlights a judge striking down Elon Musk's massive multi-billion-dollar pay package. Oh gosh, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and hand this over because I will probably just not stop talking if I can.
Listen, I'm going to take this thing. I think this is ridiculous. I mean, this is as anti-capitalistic as you can possibly get. I mean, this judge basically in Delaware decided that Elon Musk's pay package was not fair and that it should be pulled back, even though the board of directors agreed to it. 73% of shareholders voted for it. And he took the company from, $54 billion to $600 billion over that time period. I mean, he made a ton of people massively rich. I mean, and this is what he grew the company based off after his compensation. I mean, this is just anti-capitalist.
It's hard to talk about even because it's really
It's not like he ran the company into the ground and he got overpaid. He's literally one of the most successful people in the world. Of course he should be paid a ton of money. I mean, goodness gracious. Then Musk goes out and puts out a tweet saying on X that who thinks we should move the company out of Delaware? I would be like 100%. I mean, you got to pay people to make you money. That's what these CEOs are paid so much. And Musk is the person you want to pay. He's innovative. He's creative. He's developed a company. They spent no money on marketing. I mean, I'm not really sure. I know tons of judges that could come down on other people, but Musk seems to be the last option. I mean, he has done nothing but right by the shareholder, as far as I'm concerned.
In the CEO space, he seems to be, to me, anyway, the most hands-on. The company is his personality, it is his vision. He is the driver of it all, or at least he creates that perception and persona, and everybody's buying it. So if I'm wrong, so are the rest of us. Just the integration between him and Tesla. I mean, he is Tesla. So, compared to...
What kind of arrogance does a judge have to say, myself, I am the sole discretionary person on what this should be, after 73% of shareholders voted in favor of this plan package, and he hit the markers? Who cares if the markers are too low? I mean, it's not like people didn't know what it was, and it was some big surprise.
I'm sorry,
this judge is not God.
What kind of markers are they looking for on that kind of growth? I mean, what were they? I mean, the growth was just insane. What marker would he not have hit?
Exactly. I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. This judge should lose his judgeship. Like, they should just get rid of him. He's not God. These judges are absolute jokes. People need to start thinking about, hey, listen, I am not the end all. I mean,
hey, if there was any way, some kind of a, like if the stock price wasn't what it was, if the performance what it was. I mean, I'm wondering any of these people that have owned Tesla at that time that still own it are like, yeah, no, I've really failed in this one. This was not
this
good.
was a really bad decision on my part. Like, this guy really failed me. We overpaid him. It's probably the best performing asset they have. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. This is such a joke. This is what our country's got.
Who else do you want at the head of Tesla? Tell me. Who are you going to put in that seat?
I'm sure this judge was appointed by some liberal president. You just can't be anti-capitalist. I mean, goodness gracious. If you told me, hey, listen, this company was a total flop and this guy got paid millions, well, where's that judge ruling? Like, that's the one we want to hear about. That's the one where you should say, yeah. But 73%, it wasn't like a 50.1% approval. It was a 73% voting approval, and the board passed it.
What's scary about this for the shareholder is that right now he owns 13% of the company outright. And with this revamping of his compensation package, his options portfolio, basically, it takes his ownership down to about 20.6% total. And he's said publicly before this ruling and said since, that if he doesn't own 25%, just so not that he can't be outvoted by the board, but he feels like that's the number where his influence is rightfully weighed in the overall scheme of things, he's going to take his next sleeve of inventions off platform, and he's going to do it outside of Tesla. So this ruling, some people could be looking at it, well, that's money back in the pocket of the shareholder, good for us. Other people are going to see it as, well, all of that future innovation he intended to do under the Tesla brand might go elsewhere now. He's just going to do it privately. So you're going to miss out on that.
And there's going to be a lawsuit that, that should be part of the company. I mean, like the whole SpaceX and all this stuff. I mean, he's involved in AI. He started all these companies. I mean, he's got 1,000 different companies out there and ideas going left and right. So they're just...
He just put his first chip in a human brain, too. So we'll see what
I love the name of one of his umbrellas, The Boring Company, developing ways to drill tunnels more cost effectively. The Boring Company. All right, you guys. Well, that was not boring. And we're going to have a whole bunch more coming down the pipe here real soon. We're going to have to take a quick break. While we're taking a break here, a couple of notes. Money on Tap 3D. That's at Money on Tap 3D. That's where you can find us on Instagram and connect with us there. Thank you for following us there and staying in the loop. Also, we want to thank you for going to the podcast and subscribing at the podcast. And letting us know. Just send us a quick email at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Put subscribe in the subject. Let us know who you are so that we can send you out some of that Money on Tap gear. If you didn't catch what's cat's out of the bag now with what Ben said he's going to be sending out for that Discover card cancellation. So that's some of the stuff that we've got in store for you as far as Money on Tap.
First person to send me their Discover card cancellation gets a sweet Yeti mug, baby. This thing's nice. I have one right here on my desk.
That's going to be awesome. I cannot wait. Okay, going to tone it down here. You're going to be in full stoke mode when you get this Money on Tap drip, okay? So, yeah, go ahead and send those emails in, subscribe. We love you guys, and we'll be right back with, guess what? It's taxes. Learn more. Have fun while you're learning more, and pay less. What could be better? We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, Dan Mickelon here with Brayshaw Financial. Looking for a hassle-free way to invest? Look no further than Brayshaw Financial Group. With Brayshaw Financial Group, you can start investing with as little as $100, enjoy a user-friendly platform with a diverse range of investment options. Visit Brayshaw Financial Group and start your investment journey today. Brayshaw Financial Group, investing made easy.
We appreciate you listening to Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan. You can contact us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And now, more of this week's program.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We are talking about taxes. Learn more, pay less. Great principle there, especially if you can apply that in this day and age. With that, also just want to mention and thank you for going to the Money on Tap 3D. That's at Money on Tap 3D at our Instagram and following us there. All of you that just went out and subscribed to the podcast and dropped us a line so we can send you some Money on Tap gear, thank you. And as well, if you are in need of some help with taxes, we are prepared to help you at Brayshaw Financial Group. That's where we're at Money on Tap. We're all planners at Brayshaw Financial Group. And we love incorporating that as a part of our practice as financial planners, to make sure that you're aligning your taxes with your goals and getting the most out of what the tax code has to offer. And that's where the people that we're working with at Brayshaw are just phenomenal at. And we're going to get into some fun stuff here, some opportunities for you. If you're not working with us at Brayshaw Financial Group, okay, great. We get it.
That's horrible marketing, Seth. Horrible marketing.
It is. Yeah. It's a sale, no sale. What's more important is that you're getting this information for yourself, empowering yourself to have conversations. A lot of the time people sit down with their CPAs and it's a busy time of year. And it's hard to, take a look and have those conversations at that time. We want to just go ahead and, and say that because a lot of the CPAs are doing a great job. And, but it's up to you to kind of ask some of these questions and let them know what's changed or what are some of the opportunities that they can start to look into for you. If you're getting pushback on that, though, from your tax pros, and if that's you, the tax pro, just know, hey, you can grow too, and you can do maybe you need to do a little acid check here and acid test here, and make sure all your motives are in line for your clients. We get it, but we want to make sure that you have some stuff there for you to ask, and make sure that you're getting somebody on your team that's working for you. With that, we got to get down to business here, people. We've got some stuff to move through. Dan, what do you got for us?
Yeah, just quickly recapping where we left off in part one of the show. Learn more, pay less. This comes to taxes. But we began the first of the series talking about some of the filing changes, right? Tax season opens up officially January 29th. April 15th is due date, except if you're in Maine and Massachusetts, it's the 17th. We talked about some of the new resources that have been opened up by the IRS. They have kind of AI-based chat software that you can access and ask some simple questions that's available now. You can file direct and file for free directly to the IRS, which is something, if your taxes are simple enough and you're confident you can get that done right, is a big saver for you. And we talked about how the standard deductions have changed. But more importantly, probably most importantly, we hit on the difference between a deduction and a credit. And just keeping in mind, quickly on that, a credit is something that, goes right to the bottom line of your taxes and is potentially refundable to you, whereas a deduction is something at the top of the math here that's an offset against some earning, right? So credits, in general, would be more valuable to you than a deduction. Of course, amounts and reasons vary there, but big difference, though, so be aware of that, the difference between a deduction and credit. And we hit on some of the kind of more popular and kind of up and coming or potentially in a lot of cases overlooked credits and deductions you might be eligible to take care of and apply to your taxes. And they included things like the learner's credit. There's a couple different levels of education-based deductions and credits available to you. So if you're in school, you're taking on expense related to learning, keep an eye out for that. Play back that last show and dig into it. Find some opportunities there to potentially take advantage. And if you've adopted a child, there's some real credits out there for you available to take advantage of as well for the expense of taking on an addition to your family. There's earned income tax credits available, charitable deductions. We spoke on that, and we've covered that at length in a number of different shows. So if you're someone who gives to charity, make sure that you're getting tax credit for your giving. Medical expenses, if they exceed 7.5% of your AGI for a given year and they're not being refunded by an insurer in some form or fashion, there's a credit for you there as well. In the mortgage interest deduction, which is probably the standard one, beyond the standard deduction itself, the one that most people leverage in their tax planning. So those ones we covered last week. We kind of did a bit of a dive on each of those. So if you missed that show and feel like any of those might apply to you, definitely check out the library and play that one back for yourself.
Yeah, Dan, that's a great recap. And there's a ton in that show, and there's a ton coming your way. So be prepared and buckle up. But a lot of people say to me, "Hey Ben, how do I know if I'm working with the right person?" And I'll tell you, there's like 3 questions you can ask yourself, and you can answer yes to one of these. I would tell you that, give us a call, get somebody involved, figure out if there's something you're not doing. But when you bring an idea to your CPA and their first thing is like, that's just not going to work. I don't really know. And there's really kind of a dismissive. Like if you're bringing something to a professional and you're saying, I'm really curious about this, if they're going to dismiss you that quickly, that should be a concern to you. You want people to be like, why would you think that? Like ask a question. Like they should be able to engage with you. The second thing is that, hey, I like this guy. He's really nice, but I meet with him once a year. And he's super busy and he doesn't do any planning with me. We don't really talk about things. If they're not trying to engage with you annually or more than annually, then that's a problem, especially if you're a good customer. Okay. And then finally, this is the classic. Well, you made a lot of money. You're going to have to pay taxes. That's what people do when you make a lot of money, or you just have to pay that. There's nothing that can be done. Kind of the dismissive, like we don't have any more work that we can do. I mean, like I said earlier in the show, there's no one that will file any 3 taxes for the same person the same way. It's just the tax code is so broad, and that's where you really need to start asking yourself, hey, listen, am I really working with the right person? And that brings us to, what's next? A lot of people, you're just getting ready to file your taxes. You're trying to figure out what you can do. We talked about this. There's a lot of IRA deductions that can still be made, okay? And you may need to evaluate that. Is it worth paying taxes and doing a Roth program? We've talked about that in other shows. There's a lot of opportunities around that, and the IRA is going up this coming year again. And then you have your 401k deductions that you've made for contributions in the past if it wasn't a Roth version. But that limit's going up this year for you who are focusing on trying to max that out. But it's rising up to $23,000 this year, and if you're over 50, you can put $30,500 away for retirement, pre-tax, if that makes sense for you. And usually if you're looking at making that kind of contribution, you may be saying to yourself, I'm in a tax bracket, I need to do that. But if you're in a low tax bracket, you may want to be considering whether or not you have a Roth option in your 401k to consider.
Yeah, great points in that. I love seeing the contributions and the deductions expanded. Sometimes it takes a few years for that to happen, but as of this next year and the year before, we're seeing those increases. Another one that shows up not that often, but we want to make sure that you have it if this is for you. It's called the Savers Credit, and it runs 10% to 50% off up to $2,000 or $4,000 filing jointly in contributions for an IRA, 401k, or 403b, or certain retirement plans. The percentage depends on your filing status and income, and I believe that runs up to a modified adjusted gross income up to $76,000 if I remember correctly on that. So
yeah, that's actually right. $76,500 if you're married filing jointly. That's a big. It's funny. That's up to a $2,000 credit for somebody. I mean, that's pretty incredible with an income that high for people who maybe you're in retirement saying to yourself, you know what, I wouldn't mind a deduction. I was actually shocked it was that high.
Yeah, that's significant when you're talking about that at that income level to be able to get that kind of a credit. Pretty cool. Hey, next up, one of my favorites, and this is a health savings account contributions deduction. So if you So for one, the health savings account, we've actually had shows on the health savings account that you can go back and listen to. We love it.
It's one of the greatest tools out there. It's so overlooked. It's unbelievable.
Yes, it is. So one of the things that you have to do is, first of all, qualify for it. Okay. And that's based off of the deductibility of your health insurance. So if you have a low deductible plan, you don't qualify. If you have a high deductible plan, you qualify. That's simple. You can check out what that matrix is online. But what happens is that, first of all, the money that you're going to put into these, you're not taxed on. Great, right? That's just like your 401k, not taxed on that money going in. And once it's in there, you can invest it and grow it, just like a Roth or an IRA. Awesome. That's not taxed. Now, when you take distributions, for one, you don't have to be 59 and a half to take a distribution off of this like you do an IRA. You can take it in the same year, but you just use it for a qualified medical expense, which is pretty darn liberal. It's cough syrup at the Rite Aid or Band-Aids. There's so much that qualifies, but guess what? That's great. Okay, great. You can do it. You can use it for that, and that distribution is tax-free as well. So if you can imagine with us here, we have healthcare costs that are rising, and they increase more the older you get. So what are you going to do in your plan to start to kind of subsidize or try to help yourself out in that area? So down the road, you have tax-free capacity for your distributions from the savings account or an IRA like vehicle, and you're going to go ahead and have that money saved up for the event that there will be an increase in healthcare costs. It's beautiful. It's a triple threat. It takes care of so much for our clients now, as well as our clients that are preparing for retirement.
We were just thinking about this. One person I met actually was saving inside their HSA to cover their long-term care expense. They weren't using it for current medical. I thought that was an incredible idea of kind of putting money away and getting the deduction and then going to spend it in the future on a backup long-term care. I thought that was great.
That was a good idea.
For HSA.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. I hadn't heard of that before, but next up is one that applies to probably a lot of you listeners and a lot of us presenters here. It's the self-employment expense deduction. So if you are self-employed, the cost that you incur to run your business or house your product or deliver it out to customers, it's a kind of a wide-ranging opportunity there to deduct those business-related expenses as they apply to how you earn your living. But there's lots of other things that can kind of get wrapped up into there. I mean, things like your cell phone, mileage if you're driving for business purposes. There's really a ton of stuff. I mean, if you are self-employed and you're not really truly vetting this out, take some time, look through that checking account if you have a separate business account versus personal checking. Just really go through line by line in each and every one of those expenses and see which ones in some form or fashion apply to the business itself and deduct it against your earnings. It's just something that's so worthwhile doing.
The next big one, and this has been controversial for a lot of CPAs in the past, is just the home office deduction. And I think this is one of the areas that our world has totally done a reversal on, because ever since COVID, everyone has an office at their house. There's not a person I know that doesn't have a new office space that they created. And the IRS is really, they used to be really rigid about the home office. Like, do you really have a home office? Now they know that everybody has some sort of almost work from home kind of environment on some level. And that because of COVID, that's really, so the red flag is not as red. It might be more like a yellow and not a big deal, but it's actually a percentage of everything. It's if you're using 10% of your house or half of your apartment or whatever to run your business, there's a deduction for that same percentage of utilities, insurance, housekeeping. I mean, anything that you would have an expense associated with your home, that percentage of that space is the equivalent percentage of any of those pieces. In the past, if you use 10% of your home for an office, the profit when you sold your house was then treated differently. It came out as, a taxable event. It was taken out. Now the IRS has kind of, gotten rid of that, which is really interesting. But they did keep the depreciation add back in at 25% of whatever you depreciated on it. So there are some complications still inside of it if you're buying and selling property and whatnot. That can be a little bit of an issue. But I would say that if you're CPA is still kind of running that red flag about the home office deduction. And usually CPAs get into the habit of just doing whatever they've always done. I would definitely challenge them on this space. This is something that is absolutely a normal piece to self-employed and business people.
You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. Thank you for taking a moment to go to Instagram at MoneyOnTap3D and following us there, as well as going to the podcast venues and subscribing to Money on Tap, sending us a message that just says subscribed in the message line, because we've got some great Money on Tap gear that we cannot wait to send you out. We just love connecting with you, and thank you for just people that are already out there doing that just drop us a line and say hello. A lot of the shows that we run over here are for you, because you're what's important. You are who are important to us and the most important people in the room. And it's a lot of fun to put these together for you. Hopefully you're grabbing some golden nuggets for you here today to take forward and know that you're going to be successful in not only your taxes, but also your investing. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. Hey, Seth Cressman with Brayshaw Financial Group. Are you looking for professional guidance to kickstart your investing journey? Look no further. Brayshaw Financial Advisors, we're here to help you. Our team of experts will provide professional, personalized advice tailored to your financial goals. Visit BrayshawFinancial.com today and schedule your free consultation. Looking forward to seeing you there.
You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or email us at info@yourmoneyontap.com. And now, more Money on Tap with Ben, Seth, and Dan.
Welcome back. You're listening to Money on Tap. You can reach us at 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. We are going to be wrapping up the Learn More, Pay Less Taxes show for you here. And, a couple of things we just want to make sure that we're highlighting here is if you are looking for help with your taxes, we have seasoned tax professionals, CPAs, tax preparers, ready for you at Brayshaw Financial Group. Just send us an email at info@yourmoneyontap.com. Write tax in the subject, and we'll connect you with the team to make sure that not only are your taxes getting prepared and filed correctly, but they are also, you're getting an opportunity to do some planning and try to find out maybe there's quite a bit of money you're leaving on the table. And what are some of these deductions and how do they apply for you? That's a good, that's just a really awesome opportunity. We love being able to do that with you at Brayshaw Financial Group. And there was something I left out last time, and Ben wanted to remind me not to forget the Discover card opportunity that we're throwing out there. Ben's throwing out there for you, which is basically this. If you cancel your Discover card, go ahead and take a picture of that or screenshot of that and send it into info@yourmoneyontap.com. Ben would like to send you a special gift. What do you have on tap, Ben?
But I have a beautiful Yeti mug, Brayshaw Financial Group Yeti mug coming your way. Costs more than the amount of money that Discover failed to take care of their customer of almost 20 years. I think this thing cost me more than $37.20. I'm willing to give this away. This small business owner can absorb more than Discover Financial can in this. This is just absolutely the worst business. There's no way this company's going to do well over the long haul treating people like this. I couldn't believe it. I hear stuff all the time and so forth. And I'm a person, I like principle. This is just wrong. I can't stand it. And I would like to see Discover learn a real hard lesson, one person at a time. Yeti mug coming your way. This thing's amazing, and I hope you enjoy it.
And next on our list of tax benefits and credits and deductions out there, for people who are educators, your classroom supplies, you can deduct up to $300 out-of-pocket expense. And I know lots of teachers go through this. My sister's a teacher. So, for people who, unfortunately don't always get paid great and take on great personal expense to make sure their room's equipped the way they want it, there is a deduction available to you for up to $300. And it's often the case, or in a lot of instances, husband and wife are both educators in some form or fashion, and you can both apply to get that deduction, so $300 each in that instance. As well, there's a solar tax credit, and I think people have come to understand this for homes and homeowners that are able to put solar devices, solar panels, anything that can be used to collect the sun's energy and put it back into the system. There is a tax credit available for you there. It's also known as the Residential Clean Energy Credit. So it can cover up to 30% of the installation cost of solar energy systems, including solar water, solar heaters, and solar panels. So if that's something that you've made as an addition to the home for some energy efficiency, you can also reap the benefit of that credit as well. And there's the EV credit, electric vehicle credit. That's one we've talked about a lot. We started the show with an article about Elon Musk, and we've discussed that one many, many times over when talking about the whole EV market and their appeal. And one of the things that definitely drew a lot of customers to their door is the availability of this credit. And it ranges from $3,750 up to $7,500 for tax year 2023, depending upon which EV they purchased.
There's a lot inside, Dan, I mean, the EV piece has really been a big player for a while, in the car world and so forth. But there's so much I know you talked about mileage earlier, and I was thinking that we could add a little bit more depth to that. It just is kind of like, because a lot of people lease vehicles or they buy vehicles, and there's so much you can write off in a vehicle. It's one of those things. Like if you have a home office and you're driving from one office to another, those are deductible mileage pieces, and so you can take a mileage deduction, or you can just look at a car and you can lease it, and you can actually write off a portion or a percentage or all of that lease, depending on how your CPA looks at that. Some CPAs look at it and say, "Hey, listen, you need the vehicle for for just your business, no matter what. The fact that you drove it is irrelevant. It doesn't cost you any more, so you can write off the whole lease." And some people say, well, this is your percentage of your business use. So I've seen it both ways. I mean, there's definitely a more conservative perspective to that too. But also you can actually choose to write off the expenses of your vehicle separate from mileage, separate from the lease. So those are other options that you can do. So there's a lot of different ways you can take a vehicle, but you can look at which way's the most beneficial for you. And that's what's great about the tax code.
Dan, you were talking about the solar credit, and we were looking into that, and our problem was we have too many trees around our house. It's a real problem in Oregon. We've got too many trees and plus we really suffer from a lack of sunshine for a lot of the year, and those two things combined really didn't help us out on that. However, I've got some other stuff for you, because you might be in this boat with us where those credits don't apply. This is an energy efficient home improvement credit, and this credit increased from 10% of the purchase price of certain qualified energy efficient improvements up to 30% of the cost. So if you added new windows, or if you're like me and you came home and Kira told you we're getting new windows or doors to your home during 2023, the credit would be up to $1,200 this year. I'm looking forward to that one. And if you installed a qualified heat pump, biomass stove, or biomass boiler, the credit could be up to $2,000. I would like to see them include composting. I'm a religious composter, but that doesn't seem to be hitting their matrix this year for credits. Anyways, maybe one of these years we'll get that in there. The other important change to note is that there is no longer a lifetime dollar limit to these credits. In previous years, it was a lifetime limit of $500, and now you could potentially get $1,200 credit every year if you have added qualified purchases. Now, I would love it if that was the same purchase that I could just apply from this last year, another $1,200. That's not what I believe this is saying. If but it's a good question, right? That's one I'm going to ask. I'm going to dig into that and probably get back to you and see if I can, grab $1,200 from those windows this last year and keep rolling that out until we use it up. But anyways, that's what we've got for you in the energy efficient home improvement credit. Hopefully that helps.
Another thing that we have is kind of the unusual deduction, right? There's a lot of things out there that people are like, hey, I spend this money on my business, and it's completely ridiculous, but I do. And one of the examples I had heard as an example of this is a guy who owned a junkyard, and he literally spent a ton of money on cat food, literally to attract stray cats so that he could keep the mice and rats away. And it got approved. There's a number of these types of oddball deductions. There was a weightlifter a bodybuilder who used a certain type of oil and substances on his body for the bodybuilding thing, and he got it approved by the IRS to deduct this thing for all his competitions. There are the most bizarre deductions. I mean, that's none of us, of course, but less me than both Dan and Seth. But that's one of the things is that the tax code is an interpretation, and if it is truly a business expense and you can document how you use it for your business, don't be afraid of crazy stuff. I mean, honestly, just the documentation is all that it takes.
That is what we've got in store for you with the taxes show. You learn more, pay less. Aren't you glad that now you got out your pen and paper and you took some notes and you've got some really good questions for your CPA this year to be able to find out, hey, what can I do differently to save some money? And if that wasn't you, if you didn't get out the pen and paper, great. Go to the podcast, subscribe, listen to this show there. And while you're at it, you heard that there's a Yeti mug out there for the first person that cancels their Discover card and sends that in to info@yourmoneyontap.com, just a proof of that. Ben has a Brayshaw Financial Group Yeti mug. I will say these are coveted mugs in our house. I know you all have those mugs and those containers and those Stanley water things that now have lead for you. These are not those. These are the Yetis that
Yeti coming your way, baby. Discover. John Owen, you need to pick up the phone, and I want a serious apology. This is just bad business. They need to make some changes to this company, or they're going to be. I mean, they're just going to dwindle. Nobody wants this. That's the crazy piece. Hey, for all the people who listen to our tax show, I mean, I know we joke around about the Discover thing, and that's fun. And I'll send a Yeti mug to the first person who can send proof. And I'm sure we're going to have a ton of those, but sends proof that they're going to cancel the Discover card because I'm going to enjoy that. Personally, I appreciate the personal support and the boycott. But inside taxes, I would just tell you that there are so many things we can't even talk about on the show. People probably don't necessarily realize that, there are reins to that. If you're an accredited investor and you really have some significant tax problems, we have barely scratched the surface of the things that you could potentially do. And that's really where our specialty is tax incentive planning. And we focus on this all day long. These little pieces here, as we try to give these to the public, we're not CPAs, we're not tax attorneys. We work in this space all the time with people because mitigating taxes is the number one role that we play, and why a lot of our clients and customers find us so valuable and helpful in a lot of the places we play. But if you are an accredited investor, this show is not for you. Give us a call, sit down with us, really get creative, get an interpretation on your taxes that might take you to another level, put a lot more money in your pocket. And that would be the last thing I would have to share today.
Well, it's been a lot of fun. This has been for a tax show. For a tax show? Are you kidding me? This was awesome.
This is the boycott show. This is the boycott show, Seth.
The boycott show. I can't wait to see what happens with that. That's going to be great. So you've been listening to Money on Tap. As always, be successful in your investing. We've dropped a ton of information here for you. Pick up the phone. Give us a call, 855-226-8551 or info@yourmoneyontap.com. And we just can't wait to meet you. I just love getting together with new contacts, new people. Some we just build lifelong relationships with, and we get to help in lots of different ways. But, it's good to serve your purpose, whatever that is. And this is ours. And we love just connecting with you and helping you out in this journey of your finances. And you know what? You're worth it. You're worth it. Be successful in your investing. And we will be back here, same time, same place next week. We'll see you guys.
The views expressed are not necessarily the opinion of this radio station and should not be construed directly or indirectly as an offer to buy or sell any securities mentioned herein. Investing is subject to risks, including loss of principal invested. No strategy, product, material, or tool mentioned can assure a profit nor protect against loss. Please note that individual situations can vary. Therefore, the information, products, materials, or tools mentioned should be relied upon when coordinated with individual professional advice. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. This show may be subsidized in whole or in part by a product sponsor or issuer. Securities and advisory services offered through SagePoint Financial Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC, and a registered investment advisor. All other services offered through Brayshaw Financial Group LLC are independent of SagePoint Financial. SagePoint Financial and Brayshaw Financial Group do not provide tax or legal advice. Main office is located at 116 South River Road, Bedford, New Hampshire, 03110, and can be reached at toll-free 855-226-8551.